How you doing, guys? Today I have pulled the transmission back out on my 1955 Wheel Horse Senior, and I'll tell you why in one quick second. When I put this thing together, if you watch the videos, I believe I really went through this transmission from front to back and made sure everything was dialed in. At the last second, I put the shifter back in, and there was an issue with it, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to live with it. Yeah, well, I can't. Or at least I can't live with it without attempting to fix it. And I'm going to show you what happens. There is a significant amount of wear in this little hole. And there's a 1/4-inch drift pin, or not a drift pin, like a drift pin. I'll show it to you in a second. That slides in and engages in a key slot in the shifter arm itself. And what that does is that's the pivot. But when you stand up and we take a look at something, if I grab the shifter, this shifter, you can see how this is like twisting play in the shifter. And the reason for it, and I'm going to gently pull this out and I'll show you. There we go. I want to just move that pin in so it doesn't fall into the transmission, because that would be really bad. As you can see, there's a lot of wear in the pivot ball on the shifter arm, as well as if we swing right around here and we take a look at this pin, all right? Oops, this thing, let me show you here. I'll do it this way. This thing slops around like crazy in the hole, and that's just because of all the years of it being pushed on and twisted on and torqued. It's just, it's wobbled out, so it happens. To fix it, what I did was I went, or at least I'm hoping to fix it with, I went down to the hardware store and I bought a couple tapered pins. They start off at 1/4-inch and then they increase to something else. It doesn't matter really, because it's definitely bigger than what I need. So what I want to do is this tapered pin piece here, I want to figure out what will, where it'll start to work. And instead of sliding the pin from the outside in, I'm going to slide the pin from the inside out. That way it's in place, and then I can drop the shifter down onto the pin. With that being said, the pin is going to be thicker than 1/4-inch. Therefore, fitting into the housing a little tighter, getting rid of the pin slop, and then having a little bit of a bigger or thicker end on this end, which engages with the shifter, and thus getting rid of some of the slop, so we're getting less of this side-to-side movement when we really only want twisting movement. Twist it over, put it in gear, put it up in gear, then twist it back, put it in gear. So I don't want the swing, I just want the twist. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just, off camera, I'm going to do some measurements and maybe make a couple marks on the pins. I bought 2 just in case I mess up one of them. And once I get all the layout marks on, I'll kind of let you know how I came up with those dimensions. With some measurements in hand, I'm going to embark on something. I did change my plan a little bit, so I'll let you know in 1 second. First thing I did was I went ahead and measured the thickness of the housing, and that would be this dimension right here from the outer edge to the inner edge. Okay, that ended up being 345. I went ahead and measured the depth of the slot in the shifter, which ended up being 295. So when you add those together, it's 0.640 or 41/64, or right around that. Don't mind this little piece of air gap I have, but basically that's the measurement from the outer edge to the inner depth of the slot. Now, the pin itself, the original pin, is about just a little bit over 1/2 inch. So what I did was I went ahead and marked where that measurement was with the first line. Then I went ahead and marked the second line right here, which is the total length that I need or I would like, okay? And then from there I measured the thickness of the thin end, which happens to be 1/4-inch, and then the second line, or the total distance, the total length of 268. So that gives me a total taper of 18 thousandths. Now that's not going to be enough to soak up the slop. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just do it and live with the outcome. But I think what I'm going to do first, before I do that, is I'm going to try something. Now, the big end of the tapered pin, it does just barely start into the shifter, okay? Now, that's good and bad. Well, it's good because it starts to slide in. Bad because the slot is pretty wobbled out, but it only goes just a hair in. So what I think I'm going to do is I put the other pin right here in my drill press. I'm going to go ahead and take a file and just lightly file this around so I could, just the end of it, okay? Just the very end of it, so I can get it to slide all the way into the slot. If I can get that and there doesn't appear to be a ton of play in there, then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take some measurements and then just maybe narrow this down so it fits into the housing. I'll see how that goes, but let me tackle the first thing, which is let's file this end down a little bit. Okay, so that is the pin that I machined the edge down. This is one of the pins, of the tapered pins, that is not touched. And essentially what I needed to do is get this thing to fit as tightly as possible, but will pass all the way through the slot. And the reason for that is now I'm going to measure where I need to be to taper the back side of this so it fits snugly into the neck of the shifter. If I made this to fit super tight, which it's, oops, there it is. It's definitely, obviously it has some slop because the top portion of the ball part of the shifter is blown out, but the bottom isn't. So that fits really good. So if I can get this pin to fit snugly into the housing, this should work, because what I can do, instead of sliding the pin from the outside in, I can slide the pin on the inside because the taper will soak up the wear in the housing, okay? And this little barb will stick out, which I could drop the shifter down on top of, tighten everything down, and that side-to-side swing play, in theory, should be pretty much gone. Now, there probably will be a little bit because we still have a little bit of wear here and there, but I think that should be best. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to take some measurements, how thick we are here versus over here, as well as how far down can I go, meaning how long can I have it. And from there, I'll put it back in the drill press and file here, file there, and hopefully we can get this thing to fit pretty darn good. Just a little update on the work here. Original pin that was in the transmission's shifter. This is where I am as of right now with my custom made pin. And this is what I started off with. So I started off with one of these tapered pins. As you know, I went to the end, I machined the end to kind of fit the shifter the best that I could. It's snug. And then I cut it to size, and now I'm starting to make the taper, or steepen the taper in the pin, because this has to be a 1/4 inch. But this up here has to be, I don't know, like 265, 270. So, you know, like maybe 20 thousandths more than a 1/4 inch. The end of it right now is pretty close to 1/4 inch, and this top section is definitely way too thick. It won't even really slide in. It's just barely starting to slide into the housing. So again, I'm just using, just using a file and my drill press over there to do the shaping. And once I get it a little bit closer, and I'll show you how it fits better. If this slides in and stays in, it feels a little firm in the hole, that would be perfect. So let's go ahead and continue working on this. And there it is. It's this one right here. You might say, there's not a whole heck of a lot of difference there, but actually the taper, okay, this is a 1/4 inch, and that's 20 thousandths thicker right at the shoulder. Also, if we take the original one that was in there, it's actually longer. So I don't know by how much, maybe 1/8 of an inch, let's say. You can really see where the shoulder is now. So it fits tighter in the housing. It fits tighter in the shifter itself. I still have a little bit of side-to-side play or twist, but not nearly as bad. I haven't put it fully together. I just kind of put the pin in and dropped the shifter in, and I was able to get it to shift through gears fairly easy. So I'm going to go ahead, clean up the cap, put all the spring, put everything all back together, put the new pin in, and then we'll do a test try and see how it all works out. For documentation purposes, this here is the original style pin or post, if you want to call it that goes into the transmission. This is part of the rebuild kit. It's exactly the same as the one that came out of the transmission, but if we go ahead and drop that pin in, okay, you can see how much play. Actually, there's a lot of play. You can see how that thing moves a good 1/8 of an inch. So why don't we do, oh Jesus, I don't want that thing falling in the transmission. That would be really bad. So now we're going to take the new pin that I just made, and I'm sorry that I'm moving slow, but my back is killing me. If I go ahead and slide that in, all right, wiggle it in, there is a little bit of play. Actually, you know what? I think it fits better the other way. There's like there it is. Oh yeah, there you go. That's the way it fits. There's literally no movement. I'm not, see, I'm pushing on the sides. I'm not even, there's literally no movement. Now there is a little bit of movement, but basically there's none. So that will hopefully rectify the sloppiness in that post, which was also being amplified by the sloppiness in the shifter. So like I said, it's not 100% fixed, but man, it's a lot better than it was. So I'm going to go ahead, clean everything up, and reinstall the shifter. And there it is, guys. It's all set. Like I said, I'll show it to you in just one moment. Not 100% perfect fixed, but man, is it infinitely better, in my opinion. So if I grab the stick and I just try to twist it, that's it. I mean, we're talking maybe 1/2 inch of play in it. It shifts into gears perfectly. It even goes over there. That's what, first gear, and then there's reverse. Nice, smooth. That would be third gear, and then second gear is a little tough to get into. I don't think the gear's lined. I'll really have to kind of push on it, but it goes into second gear just fine. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you would, leave a comment. This is, I know, another little transmission thing, but man, I really couldn't sleep at night. I got real problems, right? I just couldn't sleep at night. This was driving me crazy. I am infinitely more happy with the shifter, so that's going to feel and look so much better. And you can tell, in neutral, it's nice and straight, or real as straight as it needs to be. Actually, I bet you if we could just go like this. Yeah, there you go. Shifter's going to be, yeah, that's perfect. Straight up and down. Just the way I wanted it. All right. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you very much for all your viewership. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below if you would. And the next video, ring the bell so you get to see the next video, and it will be next week. Until then, have a great day.